team is not a team if you don't give a damn about one another.
You going number one or number two?
Trust Dad.
Ma, I gotta go.
What does it take to turn 5 uncontrollable characters into one unbeatable team?
Even with my help, it will be difficult, if not nearly impossible, to defeat a team from Korea.
I'm afraid. You need this fight bad. You need this fight for you, man.
I'm here to teach you how to win. Winning isn't a sometime thing. Winning is an all-time thing.
This is the only thing I know.
Hey everybody, it's the Cannon Cruisers. I'm JD.
And I'm Randy, and on this week's bonus feature, we continue our cruise through our summer sports special with the 1989 American martial arts film, The Best of the Best, directed by Bob Radler and starring and co-written by and co-produced by Philip Rhee, alongside Eric Roberts, James Earl Jones, Sally Kirkland, Simon Rhee, and Chris Penn.
That's right, Randy. This is the martial arts epic movie that is quite a bit different than the usual ones we cover on here, both sports-wise and martial arts-wise. It's not quite a canon movie, I would say.
Yeah, because this is literally a martial arts tournament with martial arts teams competing for points.
Yep, as a team, not on an individual basis. That's very important.
And they're not doing this for revenge. Or actually, they were.
In a sense. One of them, I guess.
This is just true competition, not a blood sport, not a kickboxer. It's a tried and true competition between countries.
That's right. So I guess we'll just say that's pretty much what the actual story is. It's a bunch of athletes that were gathered together as the best of the best to compete for their country.
Yep.
We follow the team of 5 as they learn to work together and overcome their troubles to become the team they need to be in order to win against the fearsome other team, which is, in this case, Korea. And that's pretty much the story.
Yeah, that was a very quick summary for this movie.
It's not a very complex story. It's just there's a lot going on because, like I said, there's about 5 main characters plus the coach plus his assistants. So we have to go through all of them as they deal with the problems of getting this team together to be the best team around.
Would you say that several subplots pop up, including moral conflicts, the power of the human spirit triumphing over adversity, and the meaning of life as the themes in this film?
You don't have to read the Wikipedia page all the time, you know.
I know, but it's just a really funny random thing where they pop up. It's like, these are the themes of the movie. Thank you.
I guess we needed to know that, and we needed to have that spelled out for us. Yeah, this is one of the ones that has actually been in the back of my mind for doing on Cannon Cruisers for a while. It's just been difficult to find the time to do it, first of all, and second of all, to find it, period. Because it's not a very easy movie to find, surprisingly.
Yeah, but it's also one of those movies where there's 4 of them in the series, and they're all released by a different studio.
Mm-hmm. Although, according to you, there was a lot more than 4 movies.
Oh, no, that was me just joking with you.
Apparently, Randy told me there was 13 of them.
Well, there's Karate Vampire, and then Karate Dog. And
it's one of those sorts of situations.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, so...
Karate Tiger, 18.
Yeah. But this one's not really the same as the sequels. Sequels are all pretty different from each other. Though, again, for whatever reason, it was very difficult to find, and I'm glad we finally did watch it, even though it's near the end of our sports special.
It actually makes the most sense to do this one at the end, probably more so than what our final movie will be.
Well, the last one was the one you wanted, so...
It's just, okay, so I don't want to spoil it. It's just a movie that I have some nostalgia for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but this one is kind of the last hurrah of the sports movie era in a lot of ways, because after this is more or less when they moved to kids movies with like Mighty Ducks. I'm pretty sure like the year after this.
This movie was only PG-13, whereas its sequels are all R.
Which is weird to think about because there's a lot of blood in the movie, even though it could be probably more violent.
Yeah.
It's still pretty violent.
It's fairly violent, but not to the extent that it could have been.
Well, it's not like punching somebody through the chest or anything like that, but there is a lot of beating people up, blood spray, and dislocation of shoulders.
Oh, yeah, that hurt.
You even hear it, which is pretty brutal. So, yeah. So let's get straight into it, Randy. What were your general impressions of Best of the Best 1 from 1989?
That kid got hit by a car.
Well, we kind of called that happening at the beginning of the movie.
I know, I had to call
and
that.
it turned out to be foreshadowing because it did happen.
And made them grow together as a team. Don't worry, folks, the kid didn't die. It made it sound like it because the team grew together.
No, that was just one of the many obstacles they had to get around in order to become a proper team by the end of the movie.
One of the many moral dilemmas.
Yeah. It was like I said, watching it now, because I've never actually seen this one. It's been one, again, I wanted to see for a while. I knew generally what it was about. And in a lot of ways, it's very of its time, but at the same time, not of its time, because, again, we covered the sports movies before. And this is a bit different than the usual ones. It's not, like I said, like a kickboxer. It's not a blood sport. It's not really any of those types of films. It's a lot more traditional sports.
You know what this is more of? Karate Kid, but for adults.
So like Rocky?
It's like Rocky, but with martial arts and not fisting.
And a team?
And a team, I should say, yes.
Yeah.
I should say boxing, not fisting.
Yeah, Randy, you should. Which made it a little bit more interesting.
Okay, the reason why I use the word fisting is that a guy I used to know, Mathieu, he used to call all boxing and martial arting fisting.
Yes, that's probably because he was ESL, Randy. He
yeah.
Speaking English. In this case, like I said, it's a lot more straightforward, but at the same time, because of the era it came out, is a lot more free to be, I want to say, more explicit with the violence, and that is not watered down at the same time, as it doesn't go over the top. It just kind of presents it as it is. And I don't really think the movie would have came out the same if it would have released later than it did, or even earlier than it did.
And I don't think it necessarily needed to have an R rating. It was like, what were they going to add? Some swears? Were they going to punch somebody so hard that they were going to gash blood? I can't say the word right now.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. Is like you could say like, well, it's pretty bloody, and maybe it should have been R rated, but at the same time, I don't really see, aside from the blood, it would really require one. Because again, even though like somebody dies in a flashback, it's not gory or anything. It's just something that happens.
He gets hit in the head and he dies.
Yes, it's a pretty standard sort of death. And even the fights, even though people get injured, it's nothing crazy. Nobody gets like their teeth knocked out all over the floor or anything like that. It's just you get knocked down and knocked out. That's about it.
And sack tapped at least twice in an illegal maneuver.
Oh yeah, that too. That was pretty funny, even though it wasn't supposed to be. Okay, so let's get into it, Randy. Highlights, lowlights. What do you want to start with?
Let's go low this time, and go start with a low kick, and then we'll.
The low blow is the low light of the movie.
The low kick.
The test your might thing that was obviously given to Mortal Kombat later.
That's standard martial arts. It's just like, okay, tiebreaker, you got to break that.
Not the way it was framed. It was framed exactly.
So what was a low light for you, JD?
Well, for me, let's see.
Are you going to be being very picky about this and having a hard time to determine the actual thing?
Well, the thing for me is that if I had to pick it out, it would be like, in a sense, like doing the same thing, but maybe like the Karate Kid or Rocky, where you have to pick out the specific. Well, I didn't really like how they did this part of it. Maybe they should have done this instead, kind of thing. Which is just, that's nitpicky.
Okay, how about I give you my nitpicks?
Well, go ahead.
And then we can go into the highlights really quickly.
Go ahead.
3 of the 5 characters weren't really that fleshed out.
Yeah, not really. No. They were there.
They were there.
They did things.
One was an asshole, one was a Italian guy, and one was a nerd. Yeah. That was the entirety of their characterizations.
Yeah. They had moments, and they were pretty good, but they weren't obviously the main two. The main two were very obvious. They're Philip Rhee and Eric Roberts' characters. They're the main ones for sure.
And also, I had found that both the coaches, they were also not very well not giving a lot of life to them, like not a lot of backstory.
Yeah, not really, but I think they were fine for what they were doing, which was just to give motivation, more or less. It was more about the 5 main guys getting the drive to do what they needed to do to win.
And can I just say that I am surprised that the second person, the second coach, that she didn't end up being the love interest of anybody.
No, because that was one of the rules.
Sally Kirkland.
That was one of the rules, was no women, just like it was no booze and no... What's the other one? It was
no booze,
drugs.
no drugs, no women's.
Which they all
broke.
Actually, they didn't break it. They didn't break any of those rules by the end of the movie. They lived through all of them. Even when he basically had to go see his kid because he was hit by a car, he still came right back. He didn't do any of the stuff. Which is one of the lessons of the movie, which was...
I get to see him like rushing back, and the first thing he does is he gets himself a hooker, and then he gets himself really drunk, and then he does a speedball and flies all the way back, and then goes like, yeah, see, I'm back. I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, nobody did anything like that.
We were on a break.
They followed the rules exactly as they were told to do it, and they did the best of their ability to become the best of the best. Although, I guess in this case, what the best of the best means is not quite what you might think it will mean, which we should probably go into highlights then.
So you give your highlight, JD, and then I'll elaborate further, because I have a feeling we're kind of going to the same thing.
I like how it led up to the ending of the film, which I didn't quite see coming.
You like the build up to the end?
Yeah, and in a competition movie, it's usually one of two things: they either fight and they win,
or they fight and they lose,
and that's pretty much it. And you get the win where it's like all your effort paid off, and you can finally feel relief. Or the other one is you didn't work out, but you'll try harder and do better next time. That's not what happens here. Neither of those happen. What happens is, because it's a team competition,
they lost.
Everybody gets a point when they get a point. So it's a cumulative effort to win and a cumulative effort to lose. So every single person has to fight together, even though they're not doing it at the same time, to win. And at the end of the match, they're behind by 1 point, but Philip Rhee's character is pretty much beaten the guy he's fighting. It's over. He's pretty much dead. But that's the problem, is he's almost dead. He's standing on his feet, the time's running out, and he's very clearly, if he hits this guy, he's going to kill him. It's very obvious he's going to die.
Yeah, you can see that he's unconscious. You can see that he is not there.
There's nothing he can really do except kill the guy.
Which is the exact same situation that had happened with his brother in the movie.
Yep. Which was done by the guy he's actually fighting. So he basically is given the choice, either kill the guy and win the competition, or don't and lose.
So he didn't kill him.
And right as soon as the buzzer goes down, the guy collapses and goes unconscious because he was doing everything he could just to stand up. And what ends up happening at the end of the competition is they're giving out the medals, and the winning team go over to them and give them their medals because they were honorable and they weren't just trying to win. They were trying to be the best. And the best doesn't require just beating the crap out of the other person.
No, the best also requires the moral aspect to it, that he was morally correct. He was honorable. He didn't want to kill him. He didn't want revenge.
They were honorable. They fought back with all they could. They didn't complain. They, even when it was looking bad, they didn't give up. Basically, they did everything against crazy odds. And the only reason they lost is because he wouldn't kill the other guy. And they knew that. They knew that the only reason that the Korean team won is because he didn't kill their fifth guy. That's the only reason.
Yeah, that is my highlight. Is just that ending is just so perfect
it's
to
not what you
to all the themes of the film as laid out by Wikipedia culminate in that one moment. And it's like, I really appreciate that message of an ending.
And it's not really the sort of ending you would normally expect. It just kind of comes out of nowhere. But once it happens,
it ain't about if you win or lose, JD. It's how you play the game.
In essence, in this case, that's exactly what it means. And in the end, they did win. As I said, they won in the way that matters. The only way they would have won on the scoreboard would have been to be doing something that wouldn't have been worth doing. Like, it wouldn't have been worth it to kill somebody just to get a gold medal. So, like, that, to me, kind of brings the whole movie up a little bit, because I enjoyed the whole thing, but I was wondering, how are you going to end this one? You're going to end this the typical way, which is either the win or the loss. And it ended up being neither. And at the same time, I thought it ended up being more satisfying than either of those would have been.
Oh, you left out the third type of ending it could have been.
Which was?
The type of ending that can be done good if it's been kind of put out there beforehand. The ambiguous ending of before you see the final shot, it cuts to black.
Yeah, I don't know if it would have worked for this.
Oh, it wouldn't have worked for that, but you left out that ending. They could have just given us a you decide who won.
They could have, except in this case, the whole thing was leading up to the whole team versus other team, everybody contributing. How did all of their effort put together end up? And it would have been...
And the little speech that is given by Dan Yee, the man who killed Tommy Lee's brother.
Yeah.
To basically tell him that you did something honorable and you have gained a brother. I killed your brother, but you have gained a brother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then the same thing happened with the second place guy because he lost that fight.
Also, fun little thing. The actors who play Tommy Lee and Dan He, they're actual brothers.
Yeah, they worked very well together, so it shows. But yeah, and also like Eric Roberts' opponent too, they even mentioned that earlier in the movie, is he won that fight because in their one-on-one fight, he pretty much dominated him. And he even almost lost his shoulder, and he still managed to fight the guy off. And he managed to bring the team to catch up point-wise.
Yeah.
So, like, all of their efforts together is what led them to where they were at the end, which is a very satisfying thing to see in a team movie when the team doesn't perform at the same time.
Yeah.
So it was a very impressive way to end it, I thought. So all of that being said and put together, I'm going to give it best of the best, a 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed my time with this movie, and it left me very satisfied, and I actually really want to see more of it. So I kind of want to see the sequel.
I'm sorry, JD. For me, the best I can give the best of the best is a 4.
I thought you were going to give it a 1.
A 4, because it's an incredibly entertaining movie.
It's a fun movie.
Like I said, the little knocks. It's like it's almost a 5 just based on the fact that it's like how hard it is to nitpick it. Yeah. But I really do feel that the story is brought down by not giving more to all the characters when your cast is so small.
Yeah, I think it would have been nice to have a little bit more from them. But overall, the movie is very enjoyable, very well worth seeing, and again, surprisingly original considering the setup and how it ends up in the end, which to me is pretty much like the best recommend you can get for this type of film. And probably of all the ones we saw, which is saying something, I think it's probably one of the more unique ones, considering how unique a lot of these sports movies ended up being in surprising ways.
Honestly, like the closest this is to any other movies we have seen, not including this sports special, is Sidekicks. But that's because Sidekicks is straight up a tournament. That's
true. Sidekicks is the same sort of thing. The difference with Sidekicks is more about the main character's quest to become more, what's the word? I want to say whole.
Yeah, it is to become whole.
It's because he's missing half of himself. He's not physically there, but at the same time, he has imagination, but he doesn't know how to bring it together. And then in the movie, he learns to bring it all together. In this case, they all have the tools to succeed. It's just they have their own little...
I didn't say they were the exact same movie, Judy. No. I said that that's the closest that we have done.
No, but I'm saying that's the difference between them. Is in this one, they have the tools, they just have to learn how to use them, which is pretty much the entire movie. And then they learn the most valuable lesson at the end of the movie, which is, again, kind of unexpected, but very nice. And I think that's about it for this one. We've only got one more sports movie after this, and we're going to save it a little bit for a surprise for Randy because he really wants to talk about it.
I unabashedly adore the next movie we're going to do. I haven't seen it in like 10 years, but I have a feeling that it still holds up.
Yeah. So we'll see that one when we get to that one. So until then, everybody, we'll see you next time when we continue our cruise through our sports movie catalog. See you next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
This is the only thing I know I am good at. Don't take that away from me.
You can work. You can sweat. You can train. You can dream and never be better than good. But when the right people come together at the right moment, when they care almost as much about winning as they do about each other, they can become the best of the best.
Someone will lose, someone must win. Only the strong will survive. Reach for the best you have within. There is no compromise. You have to stand up and fight when the challenge is right. Through the tears and the pain, still the glory remains. You see the vision in sight. Put yourself to the test. Be the best of the best.
I'm gonna take your head off.